we talked about the other night, but your how you approach finding fish, like your fish location, how you pattern fish, or just locating fish.
I watched, as I told you, Brandon Polinick. He's a buddy of mine. I've painted for Brandon.
Yeah, we're good friends too.
Yeah.
He watches the stream all the time.
He may be, actually. Seriously, he may be. You just don't know it.
What's up, Brandon?
But Brandon came out with this thing that was on YouTube, and it's this triangle theory. And I'm sorry, I did go with Festus. He is like an upper echelon of different thought patterns, and I couldn't get into it. As far as I took some of the pieces that worked for me. There became a time not real long ago, about 3 or 4 or 5 years ago, that something switched in me, and it was paying attention to where are these fish. I had one of my best buds. He's like, I can catch fish if you put me on them. He goes, I just can't find them. I said, all right. I said, I'm gonna teach you how. I said, we was at Kentucky Lake at the house. I said, pick a bay. I said, any bay.
Pick a bay, any bay.
Just pick a bay. And he goes, Sugar Bay. I went, okay. We took off, went to Sugar Bay. I said, now, where you want to start? And he goes, I don't know. I said, all right. I said, we're going to break this down very simple. We're going to label everything A, B, C, D, and maybe E, whatever. And we're going to start with taking a little bit of dock talk from somebody that you trust. Like I call you and say, don't lie to me. I won't lie to you. And you say, hey, I called him in the back of the bay. Well, that could have been a week ago. But I have no place to start. So I look at the time of the year, and I haven't cast a line in the lake. So I go to the back of the pocket. In the early spring, it could be back there. We got a full moon. They could be back there spawning. So I'm going to label that A. I'm going to go back there and fish. But whenever you're looking at it, by the time of the year, should the fish be spawning? Water temperature 75 degrees. No, they're done. For the most part, there may be a little bit of a wave, but the bulk of the fish. So you're going to start at either the back of the pockets, you're going to start at the secondary points, or you're going to start at main lake points, or you're going to look at structure that's out in deeper water. Well, I know if it's April, I'm not going to go sit on a ledge. Yes, there could be fish there. There's fish everywhere. But I'm going to go, I want the multitude of fish. So I'm going to pick A. I go to the back of the bay. If I catch them, I nailed it. But if I didn't, then I've got to look at my other 3. So I automatically eliminated D, the offshore structure.
Especially since you got a little intel, even though it's a week old.
Yes.
So a week ago they were back.
They were there.
So.
And so now I have B or C to pick from. Secondary points. There's something that ties all these together, but secondary points is where I'm going to go to next. Now, your fish that you're looking for, and I learned, and I'm going to give credit where credit is due. I learned this from Dave Stewart. He's a well-known guide on Kentucky Lake, and he helped open my eyes on this. You have creek channels. Shad move by the deepest water possible. Shad will take and swim. Now, you can see shad out on a flat flicker, but your big black balls of shad, like you were talking about earlier, they're going to move by the deepest water possible because they can either move up and down or in and out. They can get away. They got to have an escape route. Deeper water gives them an escape route. It'd be like you can be in an open park and somebody's chasing you. You can go any direction you want to go. Or you can be in this room and somebody's chasing you. You can't go very far.
Right. They got an option to go.
So they have the option to go wherever they want to go. So the bigger balls are going to move by the deepest water possible. So I go into a bay. I'm looking at a map to see the creek channel butts up next to this point. Inside a pocket is your secondary points. I'm going to butt up next to it. And so when I go secondary points, I'm in the very back of the pocket in a foot and a half of water. I pull out to the secondary. And that's what I did with this boy. We pulled out. I said, all right. I said, we're going to fish. We're going to go out to the secondary. We pulled up and we both doubled up with 3-pounders. I said, we found them. I said, now we know we've done eliminated A. We know D's eliminated. Why would we go anywhere else other than B? Okay, now if we went back a couple days later, they're not on B. They could be, it's their transition. But so to further this along, I talked to Gary Klein. And Gary told me, because I called him, I was frustrated because I'd been catching fish shallow right creek channel smashing on a bank block. He said, Mike, them fish aren't moving in and out. He said, they're not moving in the bay and way back out. He goes,
So when you say in and out, you mean they're not moving from the
shallow
way all the way up to the ledge?
Exactly. Yeah. They're not moving in and out. What they're doing is they're moving up and down in the water column. Mm-hmm. And that's where, again, whenever I tell somebody I can, you can increase your bite by going fan casting, but starting and paralleling the bank. Anybody that knows me knows parallel the bank, you will catch more fish because you're keeping it in that strike zone longer. Mm-hmm. A lot of guys will pull up, have a point, and they'll pull up to it, and they'll just be nose right at the point, sitting fan cast all around that point. But yet they won't go to the side and come down at different angles at different depths. That increased my catch ratio at least 30%. And so you've got your A, B, and C. So break down your area, make sure you know where your creek channel is. That's the number one that you want to base everything you're off. When you're going shallow, I want to be on the creek channel side, right around that area, because that you limit down where you're going to go. B, creek channels that come close to a secondary point, which may have a flat next to it. You can be sitting in the creek channel going out across the flat, but you're still working that secondary point area. If they're not there and it's later on in the year, say May, you could still have in May fish that are moving in or fish that are moving out. That is what you get whenever you hear these pros talk about, I'm catching them going and coming. Mm-hmm. Some are coming in, I got some going out. The ones going out, I can tell when I catch them, they're skinnier. They'll notice by the size of the fish, whether they're bigger or smaller, whether they're coming in or going out. So you may hit a secondary point and not catch anything. Well, you go to your A, B, or C. Which one am I going to do? Don't think I'm going to go to A because the water temp back there isn't justified, because I asked a question, but I'm going to give a tidbit of information, and this is something for you guys to remember. A shad is an air hog. When we're talking about the big groups of shad, a shad isn't, these things as they're moving, that's why they constantly keep moving, because they have to have air to breathe, to live. That's why the deepest water possible, they're moving all over the place. You said you found shad holding at 15 foot. That's because the oxygen level at that point is better than it would be at 13 foot. You know what I'm saying? Mark Menendez said, come the end of June, first part of July, he goes, I go shallow. He goes, for some reason, them fish move shallow. He goes, I can't tell you why. He goes, but they'll move shallow for about 2 or 3 weeks, and then they'll pull back out. And it has to do with the oxygen levels. And when Stephanie was talking about the thermocline, some of these, I don't deal with the thermocline as much on Kentucky Lake because I've caught them in 40 foot deep, Well,
it's a river too. It's got moving water.
Exactly. You got moving water. So I don't deal with the thermocline a whole lot. And I'm a bank beater. I'm just going to tell you, I can catch them on ledge, but I'm a bank beater. That's me. But so whenever you see fish below a thermocline, how are they going to live? Well, number one, water is H2O, but you're not going to see that many shad like you would in the more oxygenated water. Right. So when you have the oxygenated, we're focusing on what these fish eat. Okay, crawdads in the spring. And I'm going to come back to the shad. Why do we throw a red crawdad? You look at your A, B, C, and D. When you go into a lake, pick an area, pick a bay, pick something for yourself based upon the time of the year. Are they spawning? Are they pre-spawn, post-spawn? Look at your watercolor. A big thing is the wigglewort thing on Lake of the Ozarks as opposed to, Kentucky Lake. Why can I catch so many on Lake of the Ozarks on wigglewort, but I can't hardly catch them? There is guys that catch some on Kentucky Lake on a wigglewort, but it's nowhere near.
The Little John is kind of
Little John MD.
Yeah.
The Little John. Yeah. There is a certain water temperature. Again, Dave Stewart taught me this, and I exercised and learned it for myself with what I was taught. 70 to 72 degrees. Anything whenever you get over 72, 73 degrees is whenever the oxygen starts depleting in water. Okay. The heat actually makes your water, causes the oxygen level to go down. So when you're going to the back of the bay and you see, you heard me say 75 a while ago, I automatically know I'm gonna pull out because I know the bulk of the shad's not gonna be there. Their food's not gonna be there. That's why I'm going to the secondary points next to the creek channel. The creek channel's deeper, it could be cooler, the higher oxygen content.
Mm-hmm.
That's where your ABCs come into play. If I'm at my secondary point, I got 77-degree water, then I know I need to go a little further out. There's a lot of things that come into play with that. Now, nighttime, you'll see, right at dusk, you'll see them bull rushing the bank. You catch fish on a secondary point. And what I did is I challenged him, and I'll challenge everybody else, that you look at a map and find your creek channels. And then you say, this is my best spot. You're going to notice that it's associated.
So you got your A, B, C, D.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you figure out, okay, they're on B, they're in location B, your secondary points.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you can take that and duplicate it
Exactly.
different parts of the lake, right? So you can eliminate the other stuff and just go right to B for the most
80%
part.
of the fish.
Okay.
80% of your fish. And the thing is that you're not going to have to go, say you go in Sugar Bay, you're not going to go in Duncan Bay and fish it different. Where are you going to go? Where the creek channels are butting up next to it. So now you picked out 2 or 3 spots there. Then you're going to go to Vickers and, oh, wow, here's one that.
So you're specifically looking for channel swing secondaries once you figure that out for the most part. Okay. So as you come in those bays, if anybody that's been on Kentucky Lake, those bays are big. I mean, they're the size of the lakes that I fish around here. So they'll have, I don't know, let's just say they have 10 secondary points going from the main lake point all the way to the back.
Mm-hmm.
And you look on a map, okay, there's only 3 of these that have a channel swing bumping up against them. You're going to pass all the rest of them up and just go to those high percentage.
I may fish them just because there might be one stick sticking up on it, and I'm a bass fisherman.
It's got to stall with a
but
wall.
I'm not going to spend a ton of time on it because yes, I'm catching 80% of the fish in those spots, but there may be one that's in the 20 that's on that one little stick up on the point that's not on it. So I may go over there and make a couple of casts to it and take off.
So what are you using to find these fish? What are some of your confidence baits when you're searching and looking for fish?
Depending on the year, most of the time I go out, I'll have a crankbait rod, I'll have a shaky head, and I'll have a Carolina rig and a jig. I got 4 rods.
What kind of
He's a
rod?
shaky head.
What kind of rod for your shaky head?
Dobbins.
Spinning reel.
Absolutely.
Hey, I'll tell you right. I forget how I put it to him.
I catch a lot of hell on this channel because I did not.
Hey, you know what? You call me sissy all you want, but whenever I'm sitting in the back of your boat and I'm throwing my little, they call them fairy wands or head beaters.
Yeah.